Code Unknown is a 2000 film directed by Michael Haneke and depicts themes such as compliance, reading signals, and the artificial. I'll bookend this video just like in the film. If we are all out in the world reading each other's signals, sometimes we are just going to miss the mark, ultimately not knowing how another person is feeling or what they're saying. We often misinterpret others using what we think is a finely honed skill at reading people, when in fact we must realise that we are not mind readers and need more direct information.
Écoute, tu reviens et tu t'excuses auprès de cette femme.
The opening scene is all about compliance. Simply put, Amadou wants Jean to apologise for humiliating Maria the beggar. Jean, we can agree, should not be throwing his trash onto another person. Amadou is in the right. However, as the situation gets heated, Amadou begins to look like the villain to the onlookers. He stands out as an aggressor, and it's implied his race goes against him. His good intentions to get an apology are dashed, and because it escalates, it results in him going off with the police and Maria deported. He wanted to comply with the police, unlike Jean, who wouldn't budge to apologise. Yet the police are forceful, and their need to enact their dominance over this aggressor becomes apparent. And now Amadou is not complying. The film touches on violence, and its greatest subplot is what's happening in Anne's building. In the scene in which she's ironing, she hears female screams. She mutes the TV and listens and stops ironing. It's in this moment that exposes her fear. She waits, or maybe she is simply frozen to act. She could do something, but she does nothing. The screaming stops and she unmutes the TV and continues as normal. However, she ends up receiving a note about the girl in her building being in trouble. And though she does care, the most she does about it is ask her neighbour if she wrote the note, and talks to her husband about it, where he simply says it is not his problem. How brave are we really? If you saw someone being attacked by a gang on the street, would you do something about it? Or fear for your own safety that you would be too paralysed to act, just like Anne was? And sadly, the girl, Françoise, ends up paying the price. She dies, from what we can assume was at the hands of violence, of acts that no one intervened in. George takes sneaky photographs of people on the subway. He's clearly looking for something real. He's a photographer who takes photographs in dangerous war zones. He's seeking something so on the edge of reality to the point of putting oneself in physical harm. When people know the camera is on them, they become something else, an act of themselves. Away from a camera, they are their true self. George is attracted to that. It's the most genuine photograph of a person you can get.
Am I in this?
Huh?
Did you take his picture?
Yeah.
You are using up your 9 lives very quickly.
Charming company you keep.
Outer? He's a bit old-fashioned. He thinks these things will steal his virtue.
What Can I Do For You is a story recounted by George talking about a time he was taken prisoner by the Taliban. What can I do for you being the only English words the prison guard knew. He may not have known what they meant, but that's all he had in his locker. This too is artificial, making us think he is genuinely asking what he can do to help his prisoner, but it can do nothing, apart from showing off this English sentence. Anne and her co-star erupt into laughter. This contagious giggling is another result of the artificial. To make a movie is one level of fakery, but to dub the lines again is another. A movie is artificial. Code Unknown is too, and Haneke knows it. It's why Juliette Binoche plays an actress, and you see the movie within a movie in which she rehearses. And then to record again your lines in a sound booth, it is fake. It's laughable. It's not even real.
Vous avez déjà trouvé votre bonheur?
Non, pas encore en fait.
Prenez votre temps. La cuisine ferme à minuit.
We've all been on buses and trains and kept to ourselves. Perhaps we've had strangers try to chat to us and we just weren't interested. It's regarded as accepted behaviour. But this boy feels ignored. It leads to him being aggressive by spitting on Anne, which leads to an emotional reaction, her crying. He was bothering her, just like how, according to Anne, Amadou was bothering Jean earlier in the film. This too is covering compliance. Anne refusing to comply, not engaging in the conversation with the boy, her poker face eventually broken when she is spat on. Maria talks about this too, recalling a time when she gave money to a beggar, and then as her time as a beggar also, feeling ashamed at how the person giving her money wouldn't even put it in her hand, and the look on their face. Haneke likes to poke at social conventions like keeping to oneself. It is perfectly acceptable to want one's peace and quiet on public transport. Perhaps the boy's reaction to being ignored was excessive, but with the film dealing with the theme of reading signals, perhaps the boy is sick and tired of being treated like an outcast in a country he resides, like a thief or a beggar. And when people want to be heard, they speak the loudest. We're left with George, back from his travels, finding the code to the door to the apartment to not be working, implying it has been changed. The code is unknown to him, like many things. The mime the little girl does at the start of the film, how difficult it is as an outsider to make a life for yourself in the rich areas of Paris, attaining truth through art, having to gain sneaky photos to get the real. We're left with sign language at the end too. It's now up to us, the audience, to deal with a signal we don't understand. We don't always understand each other. Someone's silence can be read in many different ways. Someone's aggression is typically only seen one way, which is why Amadou's good intentions ended up badly for him. We're left on the playing field doing our best at reading signals from every direction we face, which is an impossible task. What if you were constantly trying to present yourself as one thing, and everyone else saw something different? Perhaps it doesn't really matter. You might see yourself one way, but there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of interpretations of your character that you have little control over. We don't always have the ability to be calm, collected and composed. We can react too quickly. We can read situations very quickly and often incorrectly. We are flawed. We make mistakes. Let's try our best to understand each other. Thank you.